Albert Einstein once said, "Art is standing with one hand extended into the universe and one hand extended into the world, and letting ourselves be a conduit for passing energy." Art is a relevant aspect of our lives as it makes us experience and bring to reality what happens in the world of imagination. Unfortunately, most parents in our part of the world, Ghana, do not motivate their wards to join this train because of the thought that it does not fetch enough capital, and if it does, seldomly. Some parents also see artists as people with low intellect. Evidently, artists have proven that it's not the case. They engage massively with their minds before a piece is produced. Where are we lacking now? How then do we make the creative art industry attractive to the youth? Join me on this session of Time with Samuel as I speak to a respected and highly successful designer who has numerous awards to her credit. She is currently into art mentorship and a YouTube content creator. Beatrice Bee Arthur is who I bring to you on Time with Samuel. My guest today is a phenomenal Ghanaian fashion designer who has really made a great impact in the fashion industry. In 2001, she won the Cora All African Fashion Award. In 2013, she was selected to represent Ghana in Paris in one of the fashion shows. Her beautiful works has been featured in lots of magazines around the globe. She is currently an art content creator on YouTube, and I'm super excited to sit with her today and talk to her about art and how to make the creative art industry attractive to the youth. I know you wouldn't want to miss this. Do stay with me and join me as I get to interact with her. Today we're going to have a very awesome session. My name is Samuel Ofori, your host for Time with Samuel. Today is an Artful Sunday, and I welcome you to Time with Samuel. You know, youth development is my priority, and that is why today I have here Beatrice Bee Arthur. She's a phenomenal woman, as the intro says, and we're going to have a conversation about art and how to promote the creative industry, the creative art industry, and make it attractive to the Ghanaian youth. But before I go for this commercial break, I would like to say a very big thank you to Douglas Jewelry, Glam Up the Affordable Way, and I want to thank Amber Gallery for this beautiful space. Do stay with me, I'll be back shortly. You are welcome back. It's Time with Samuel, and as I said earlier, I have here Beatrice Bee Arthur, and we'll be talking about art and how to promote the creative art industry and make it attractive to the Ghanaian youth. You're so welcome. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much.
It's so good to see you once again. You're looking all, artful.
Nice one there.
So what inspired you to become a fashion designer?
Well, actually, I think I've always been an artist since childhood. I've always liked to draw, design, like most kids do. And I was fortunate to have parents who encouraged that. So, in fact, my dad was a medical doctor, and somehow as a kid I thought I could be a doctor by daytime and somehow be some kind of artist in the evening.
Okay.
And it was never discouraged. So, I thought it was all just, I was just playing, I was just having a good time. And later I pursued a completely different line in terms of my education. I was targeting a different career. So I must be honest that the whole fashion thing happened somehow by chance. It was an accident meant to happen.
Wow.
So it was a beautiful accident.
Well, you really love art.
Yes.
Why do you love art? Because in one of your interviews in 2013, you mentioned that your clothes are not, African clothes. They are not European clothes. They are a collection of art that has a universal appeal. Why do you love art?
Well, I think, first of all, art is part of life. Everybody likes art.
Okay.
But I think that what is important is to explain what art is. You are wearing a shirt. Okay, that's a piece of art. Somebody designed that piece of cloth, which was then given to somebody who designed the outfit. So you are also an art lover. You just, the average person seems to think that loving art is loving this wonderful drum here, or a painting or a picture on the wall. No, that's not art. I think that's where the issue is, as our lack of understanding of the scope of what art entails, or what it encompasses, rather. So if you go to a hairstylist, the hairstylist is an artist. If you go to a makeup artist, he or she is an artist. The person who decorates your home is an artist. Your florist is an artist. So asking me why I love art is like asking me why I love life. Because everything in life is art. The house you live in, the clothes you wear, the car you drive, somebody designed that. Are you getting my point? So the difference is that I was lucky to have been brought up by parents who they themselves were art lovers, and by art lovers I mean they loved fine art, and they made me aware that everything in life, everything around me was art.
Wow.
It's as simple as that. So that's the whole difference. So a lot of people like art without knowing that they love art, just because art has not been properly deciphered or explained to them. So they have a very narrow vision of what art is. They think it's sculpture and paintings. They don't even think of performing art as art. They don't even think of dancers and singers as artists. They don't think of writers as artists, because unless a writer is writing something that is based on documents, if it's fiction, it's art. It's an art form. So I think it's very crucial that we explain, probably include art in every curriculum, in every school from a very early age. So for children, from the onset, to understand that art is in the heart of every human being, and it's all encompassing.
There's this thing we always say, that art is political. What do you have to say about that?
Yes, art is political, because first of all, you must know that art has always been regulated. Art, either by the powers that be or by religious institutions, because you can use art to denounce social problems or issues. Art is not just about the decorative aspect. I'm buying a painting because it goes with my couch. That is not, that is one form of art. That's, the aesthetics, it's beautiful. But art can also be dangerous because it changes perception. If you and I want to denounce, some social issues, we can do that through art. Art is a vent. It's a vent. So what I mean by vent is you can express joy, sadness, disgust, aspirations. The artist has that freedom, but the artist only has that freedom if the socio-political context in which he or she exists allows him or her to freely express themselves. So if you have a repressive, let's say you have if you have a repressive environment politically or socially, like let's take China for example, and let's say you cannot paint a painting that mocks, let's say, the president or the head of, or the general secretary of the Communist Party, then that means that your creativity is being stifled, your right to speak up is being stifled. In that sense, that's what we mean by art being political. So if you live in a free environment, you should be able to express yourself artistically, whether you want to draw nudes, whether you want to draw still life or landscape, or whether you want to talk about some other issues. That is why art is political, in the sense that it depends on the political situation. So you can also have a state where religion can prohibit either certain members of a society to even indulge in any form of art. If you go to Afghanistan, music is banned, dancing is banned, a whole lot of things are banned. Okay, women cannot go to school, so can imagine they cannot, I'm sure they're not even allowed to paint or touch a brush. So in that sense, that's what makes art political. Because, if I'm not allowed to express myself, I'm being stifled as a human being. And
I really know art has a lot of impact on humanity, but can you touch on the significant impact it has on humanity, art?
I just told you that art is a very important expression of our humanity. Okay, to my knowledge, dogs don't create art. To my knowledge, lizards don't create art. Okay, now there are a couple of birds that apparently embellish their nests, but it's purely for reproductive purposes. They do that to entice the opposite sex. As human beings, we use art to express our emotions, our aspirations, and our frustrations. Our art, it expresses concepts. Are you getting my point? We express concepts. Art is not just figurative. Art can be something that you easily recognize. There's a woman, there's a tree, there's a dog, but art can be abstract. So then in that sense, it expresses emotion, okay? So we as creatures, as human beings, I think what sets us apart from animals is our ability to express very deep concepts about the past, the present, and the future through art. I think, as a person, just so you know, you have people who are, I think they're called cognitive psychologists. They even use art as a form of therapy for people who are emotionally or psychologically destabilized. So you even have art, as a human being, as I said, if you're sad, you can sit down and write a song. You can write a story. You can decide to, carve something out of a piece of wood or whatever. You could decide to do pottery. This is all forms of artistic expression. It's not just painting. It's not just drawing. You understand? Exactly. If out of sadness you go and start designing a garden, you might not think of it as art, but the fact that you are doing something aesthetic, you express, you are laying out maybe your colors, your flowers, whatever, it calms down your nervous system, maybe takes your mind off your problems. So you see that art has so many, it has the personal function as for you psychologically, it's a form of even yoga for some people, and then it has the wider, broader sociological aspect to it. So you as the individual express your sentiments or just use it as a vent to get rid of whatever's bothering you. That's your personal, expression of art. And then you have the wider, broader, function of art generally in society and what it does. I don't know if I'm clear.
Okay, so I've had lots of friends who tell me they keep going to the European gallery and do not find black art portraitures. So does it mean that the racism has even affected the arts? What do you have to say about that? That you don't find a lot of black art portraitures in the European gallery?
This is very controversial. Now, if I want to play the devil's advocate, I would say if I build my gallery, I reserve the right to choose which paintings I want to hang there. So maybe people of color should build their own galleries, invest, and hang up the kind of art that they want to see. They should patronize.
Oh.
You understand? So I don't want to say anything that might make me sound Eurocentric, but I am playing the devil's advocate here. So most people that I know who have the means do not buy art that's even made by our African artists, but it's rather the foreigners that buy it. Now, there are several reasons to it, because maybe the art that the artists are creating is not something that the local market understands or likes. Most wealthy Ghanaians prefer portraiture. They like very beautiful big portraiture of themselves hanging in their, beautiful homes, as opposed to abstract art or some other, or they almost compel the artist to paint what they would like to hang in their homes, scenes of, market women or horseback riders or sunsets. So that really limits the artists. The artists become very commercial. They now paint what they can sell because they need to eat and pay bills, as opposed to maybe something that comes from deep within. They might want to express themselves, but maybe when they do that, they cannot sell those works. So then they give up on what they would want to pursue and rather paint what they think the market wants. So then when they start painting things that really reflect their inner world, those kind of paintings do not necessarily appeal to the local market, and it's rather the foreigners who want to buy those type of works. You do have quite a few. I think it's not quite true that there is no black art in European. Yes, of course, if you talk about such monumental institutions as maybe Louvre, MoMA, Guggenheim, yes, maybe there aren't so many. Correct. If you talk about contemporary art galleries, like the more modern ones or the commercial ones, it's actually now a fad to be selling black portraiture. It's the new thing to do in this era of Black Lives Matter. So everybody wants to feature something made by an African artist, which maybe, as you said, formerly was not there. But then again, as I said, the people who build those institutions, they are there to promote their culture. They are there to promote their supremacy. So they have their own agenda. So nothing stops people of African descent with money from also building their own institutions and also promoting their own agenda. There are a lot of very, very wealthy people of color in the world. In America, in the UK, in Latin America, in Ghana, there are a lot. This gallery belongs to a Ghanaian. Look around you. He is promoting African art, classical African art. But sometimes there are exhibitions here that also promote contemporary art made by African artists. And this gallery is open to everybody. Europeans can come here, foreigners can come here, and people can come and buy. Now, I haven't cross-checked with them, and I don't know what's the percentage in terms of the people who acquire the art, whether it's mostly Ghanaian or foreign. But something tells me that it would probably be mostly foreign people. If foreigners are the ones who are buying the art, there's a problem.
Exactly.
There's an issue. So you want them to build their institutions and go and hang African art there. But in your own country, you don't even patronize art produced or created by your own. So there's a dissonance there, you know, like the narrative is a little bit, you know, it's bizarre. You know, it's just like, oh yes, they're racist, they don't hang our paintings. Fine, fair enough, I agree. I also go, I'm quite happy when I go to European institutions and I see a painting, let's say from the 15th century, and I see a very wealthy looking African merchant. Actually, those paintings are rare, but they do exist. They're just not as many as we would like to, you know. And so, as I said, our form, you must also understand something. Our form of artistic expression was primarily what? We were working with bronze, carvings. This whole idea of painting with oil and watercolors is a European thing. It's not an African thing. When Europeans came to Africa, they didn't come and find paintings, did they? No. What did they find? They found jewelry, they found pottery, right? Stuff done with clay, stuff done with wood, stuff done with bronze. You know, we have quite a bit of it here. That is our form of expression. So if their form of expression, in addition to maybe everything that I've mentioned, because they also had that in Europe as well, if they've come up with their canvases and their brushes and their paints and they want to paint whatever they want to paint, it's their prerogative. Whether it's fair, that's a different ball game. You know, that's a different story altogether. Because even history is not fair. When historians write, you know, a history book or whatever, who says that everything there really portrays reality? It's a perspective. It's a perspective. It's their perspective. You can have another historian from the opposite side, you know, from Africa or Asia, who would give a completely different version of, you know, a particular event, a historical event. So the only way you can counteract this whole thing of, you know, our art is not out there, is build your own institutions and put your art there and make sure that your people patronize it. White people go, I don't like to use that word white people, I'd rather say Europeans or Caucasians. They go to their institutions to go and see themselves. They want to see a reflection of themselves. And when they want to see other people's art, they go to specialized or dedicated museums for that kind of art, you know, from the rest of the world. So you would have a whole museum in Paris called Quai Branly, where all the art there is art from the Africa, America, and Latin America. I mean, the Americas and Africa and Oceania, but that's like a dedicated, yes. And mostly, to be honest, I never saw any paintings there. It's mostly antique or, you know, what you call classical forms of artistic expression from these various parts of the world. So I don't know if I'm getting my point across, but yes, it's true. They don't have paintings of black people there, and nobody can force them to, because it's their institutions.
Exactly.
It's it's on their country. They use their money to build it. And they are, you asked me why art was political. This is one of the reasons why art is, because art can be used to form a particular mindset. Art can be used to brainwash. Art can be used to reinforce existing stereotypes. Art promotes an agenda. That is what art does. I'm coming back to your initial question. So you want to promote a certain agenda and show that we're a superior race and this is what we do. So we're only going to show our art. You can say it's not fair, but it's my right. You can't compel me to tell another version. No, you can only build your own across the street from mine and tell your side of the story.
It's really getting interesting, but I would like to go for a commercial break.
Go for a commercial break.
And when you're back, we're going to talk about, you know, in terms of promoting art, there are actors, parents, schools, churches, you know, even the government. So when you're back, we're going to talk about promoting art in Ghana. Do stay with me. Thank you so much for staying with me. I'm still here with Beatrice Bee Arthur, and we're having a great conversation. Okay, so when it comes to promotion of art, there are a lot of actors involved, parents, teachers at schools, even the government. So, and in Ghana, most parents do not encourage their wards to enter this venture. What is the role of a parent in this? How can we motivate them to motivate their wards to do something?
Unfortunately, in our parts of the world, art is pretty much elitist, in the sense that if you come from a particular social crust or let's say layer, or you probably send your kids to an upscale, school where 9 out of 10 times art will be part of the curriculum. I've spoken to different kids from different social milieu, and you'd have some that even they don't just know generally about different forms of art, but even they know what's impressionism, expressionism, surrealism. They know at least certain key players, albeit foreign, but nevertheless, unfortunately, when we come to the majority of Ghanaians, the parents were not brought up themselves to appreciate art. And when I say not to appreciate art, I'm talking about visual art, fine arts. Okay, as I said, we don't define or explain to people that a lot of the things that they do is already art. We don't explain to hairdressers doing cornrow that it's an art form. Do you get it? We don't know. Or to the women who are doing tie and dye or batik, we don't explain to them that they are artists. So their perception of art is very narrow. They think it's just about painting and drawing. And for a long time, it seemed like a kind of vocation that would be reserved for people who are intellectually feeble and could not become, I've interviewed a dozen artists, fine artists in myself. I also have my own channel, and I try to talk to artists, and more Artfully Yours by Bee Arthur. And indeed, every one of them repeats the same story to me. My parents did not encourage me because, first of all, they thought economically it was not viable, and then it was not perceived to be prestigious. So a lot of the artists that are now our famous artists, well-renowned artists, a lot of them actually went to the university to study either engineering. There were science students. Either they went halfway or they even completed the course, just to appease their parents. And once they did that, they branched into fine arts. So that already debunks misguided perception that art is only for, people with brains this size. It is never true. A lot of artists are intellectual people. They're quote unquote, they're clever, and they don't do art because they couldn't become lawyers or doctors or engineers. And so now, if those artists themselves do not go to schools to talk and promote the arts, as you said rightly in the beginning, we must all, to me, I see it as a problem. So to combat this problem, it must be a concerted effort by all the different, actors or players in the society. So the school must play its role by encouraging children, to indulge or express themselves. Okay, as you know, a lot of children also come from, they have traumas, they come from unhappy homes. Art is a way actually to deal with these issues. It allows kids to express themselves. Generally, a child that is exposed to art also becomes more of an all-round person. It doesn't mean that you have to end up becoming a sculptor or a dancer, but it just complements, it makes you an all-round. I think art, I personally believe art in all its various forms allows for more nuance to connect and makes you a more interesting, more intelligent person. So I think that regardless of which career you decide to pursue, you need art. Now, of course, if you come from a very, very, let's say, poor, impoverished, or whatever community, people are thinking about basic things like food, water, and whatever. So art doesn't seem to be a priority.
Yeah.
And your parents probably want you to go after a career that they believe would elevate the status.
Yeah.
And they don't perceive artists or being an artist as prestigious. So it is very important for us to promote our artists who are major players now on the international scene. You know,
So
we've
the
got
parents-
artists whose works go for millions.
Yeah.
You know, people, in fact, institutions are queuing. They are waiting on a list. You know, there's a waiting list for them to even get some of the works of these artists. You know, we have several artists who are recognized. They've got international prizes and acknowledgements. You understand? They're put on a pedestal. You know, the same people that we attack for, you know, being racist and not putting our faces in their museums are the same people actually who have elevated a lot of our artists, given them awards, you know. So I believe that if we don't talk about this to the youth, to show them that yes, it can be prestigious, yes, it's sexy to be an artist, yes, it is viable. You know, of course, we're all not going to be able to sell our works for millions. You know, I'm not saying that, but yes, you know, and you know, if you paint, I know a lot of artists from my friends who are artists. They do murals in people's homes. You know, they don't just paint canvases and sell. Some of them do portraiture, which, by the way, is something that we love very much in our part of the world. So if you're an artist, if it's about getting money to, you know, butter your bread or whatever, and to, you know, keep the machine going out, yes, you can do things like that. And it's a very good source of income. There's nothing wrong with that. On the side, you can be expressing your own thoughts, your own imagination. And you could be, you know, also you could teach people creativity. Right now, in this era of saving the environment from pollution, a lot of art is done with scrap. So if we teach kids how to recycle, repurpose tires, bottles, it would also help. You know, to clean. I mean, it's all interlinked. You understand? So I think it's important. If you go to these poor communities, the government must come in. In most developed countries where people or children go to museums, it is because it's part of the policy. It is part of the policy. Do you understand me? When the Ministry of Education sits down, you know, to talk about what are we going to be doing and this and that, they sit down and say, yes, we have to promote the arts. Children from the age of 3 or 5 must be taken to museums, you know, must be taken to gardens, must be taken to whatever, you know, for them to appreciate. There is also a very, in my opinion, there's a direct connection between art and cleanliness. Because if you're somebody who likes, let's say, beautiful things, you will never be comfortable living around dirt.
Exactly.
Because it will disturb you. When you are walking and the place is dirty, you feel uncomfortable because you're an aesthetic person. You like things around you to be beautiful. So it won't even cross your mind when you come somewhere and it's nice, quote unquote, to throw something on the floor. It will disturb you. You keep your environment, you know, your personal environment clean. When you go to town and you see that somebody is messing up a place that is nice, it would bother you. So there is this link between art and everything in our lives, you know, including the environment.
All right, so you've been in Ghana for some time, and how do you see government intervention in art? How do you see it?
Well, I must say one of the best things that has happened in recent times is our government paying for a pavilion at the Venice Biennale to promote our We had 6 artists who were representing us. It was absolutely wonderful. So that's a good step, you know. But then, of course, it's promoting our art to the world, as opposed to doing a little bit more to encourage, you know, local people to. Let me give you a very simple example. When graduates from KNUST usually have their annual exhibition at the University of Science and Technology, admission is completely free, just like here. We had a couple of people come in here, you know, but it's not so busy. And who are the people who are going to most of these events at the Museum of Science and Technology? Either people who are themselves artists or friends of artists, you understand. But the average Joe who was strolling, you know, bored to death, doing nothing, it never crossed his mind to enter just for the heck of it. You know, even like during Chaliwati, people go because it's fun, it's a nice environment. They might not necessarily understand what they see, but they go and take pictures or whatever. In the case of when it's on the street, then people kind of feel less intimidated. There's something intimidating. There's something that is perceived to be for the elite, for the rich. We don't understand it. Now, even in case of some of our traditional art, because we still believe in supernatural powers and occultic things, we're actually scared of some of these, the art. It scares us. So when you have an art gallery full of antique African art pieces, a lot of people, local people, would not even go near it. It would be foreigners who would go. And even when it's contemporary art, because it's a little bit too intellectual, it's not beautiful. The average Joe also cannot relate to it. He doesn't understand it because he doesn't have the level to understand it.
I think religion comes to play. Because
religion comes to play, education comes to play. It's this. I mean, as I said, a lot of this art would not appeal to the average Ghanaian person. They would not be comfortable around it. If it was carved yesterday, maybe. If it's something that is antique, then they believe that it still possesses some powers in it, so they would not go near it. And then again, as I said, if it's too contemporary, they don't. So, but if you do an exhibition with beautiful women or men or whatever, simple things, then they would come and see. But and also, once again, if it's in certain places that are perceived to be for the elite, then the ordinary person is actually scared to enter. So we need to get rid of that. I grew up in the Soviet Union. From a very early age, we're taking regularly to museums. Regular. First of all, to inculcate this whole habit of going into such places, because as children we didn't necessarily understand what we saw, but it became part and parcel of us to be going into such places. It becomes, it's like the same way maybe when you wake up on Sunday morning, it comes naturally to you to dress up and go to church, because it's been hammered into you since childhood, or maybe since years. So you do it automatically. You don't think. You wake up, unless you are ill, you would even feel weird if you didn't go to church. You would feel, So it's the same thing. If you start taking children from an early age to institutions or galleries, it becomes a normal thing, and then it's not dependent on their social class anymore, because then it becomes more like a democratic kind of thing. But that is not the case. I mean, when our museum was still open, a couple of times I saw kids of, let's say, when I say kids, I said they were probably like 12 and above. But for me, that's already late, because you have to, it starts with a nurturing process at the very onset, when they are very, very, very young. Very young, they don't even know what's going on. The same way you take them to church. After church, take them to see art, whether it's inside a gallery or in a museum, or somewhere out on the streets,
Before we go, you are really raising, critical points, but our time,
I know, right?
Yes. Before we go, I would like you to put something out there for the media. Media really has influence on our lives. And I know, the media does promote more of our art, but what suggestion do you give to them, to motivate them to do more of it? What do you have to say to media houses out there to promote more of the arts?
Well, the media houses are made up of regular Ghanaians like you and I, with the same mentality as everybody else. They do not attach much significance, and if it's not like a policy or a directive that comes from above, because sometimes you have to put pressure for things to be done. You don't just leave it for people. Choose what. So it's like the average Ghanaian prefers football, so that's where the money is. So let's just focus on football. Art is not exciting. Most people don't understand art. They don't like art. It's boring. It's just for the rich people. And so we don't, So if you have that mentality, of course they're not going to go. Or if you have a personal friend who works for a particular media house, then you can call the fellow and say, I'm having an exhibition at Kempinski. So Charlie, can you come over? Then maybe, because it's happened before. I've been here when this has happened. So then it falls on people like you and I, to use our little smartphones. Social media now can reach so many more people, and it's very impactful. We no more have to depend on traditional media to promote. It's for you and I. Anybody with a camera can get up and go and film something. It might not be of the best quality, but it doesn't really matter. The same way you're doing this, I'm doing this. Anybody out there can do this, and that's how we are also, as we said initially, we all have a role and a part to play. So if the traditional media is not doing it and the government is not doing it, then let's all do it ourselves. Everybody now it's become popular, to be honest. Now in this era, it's become a bit popular to be an artist. So by all means, we all have friends who are artists. Even if everybody supports his or her friend, whether you are dancing, singing, writing, painting, sculpting, whatever, let's all support the few people, and then that's how we'll move ahead, and hopefully in the next 10 years it will be a completely different picture.
Thank you so much for gracing the show. Before we go, my sponsor, Lagle Jewelry, has something for you.
Really?
Yeah. Thank you for gracing our show. All right, so this is something from Lagle Jewelry to say thank you.
Oh la la! Thank you. I'm excited.
I don't know what it is.
Ooh! Can I open it now?
You can.
Okay. Let's see. Looks like a flower. Coolio. Ooh la la. Wow. It matches.
It looks so beautiful.
It matches my dress. Thank you.
Just to say thank you so much for gracing our show with you.
It's
You're a phenomenal woman. I love your hair.
Thank you.
You're doing so great. You're so good at what you do. And guys, she has a channel, Actually Yours by Bee Arthur, and I want you guys to rush in there, like her page, like her videos, subscribe to her channel,
and share.
Click the notification button to get notified anytime she posts something. Thank you so much for coming.
My pleasure. And I take this opportunity to say a very big thank you to Amber Gallery and to the owner of the gallery, whose name is Baba Amadou. A very big thank you to him, to his staff. They've been so gracious. They've been kind. They've allowed us to use this wonderful space. And so, voila, basically, that's about it. So do not forget to like and share and subscribe. We need to promote the arts all together, okay? We're in it together. If we don't do this, it doesn't matter whether you're making money or not. It doesn't matter. For the, for the good of the society, the country, whatever, we need to help each other. Everybody, if you know a singer, dancer, I don't know, a poet, just promote him or her on your own. That's your bit, that's your little one peso that you're doing towards, art is very, last thing, I know you're running short with time, but there's something called soft power. Okay, and art is soft power. You gain respect from the world at large by promoting your artist. If people respect your artist, they respect you, they see you. Art is what puts all of us on the same level. So if we think that we have people who are great artisans, who have wonderful craftsmanship, we respect them, we see them completely different. Until we do that, we'll always be seen as some substandard people who do mediocre things. We don't have anything nice of our own, and we only patronize foreign things, from fashion to furniture to you name it, because we don't have anything, we don't have a story to tell. So please, everybody, go out there. If you have money, don't just buy a new phone. Buy somebody's artistic expression, go and hang it in your house. And support the industry, support your friends. Otherwise, we'll remain beggars for life.
She said everything. Thank you so much for staying with me. My name is Samuel Ofori-Odame, and I'm your host for Time with Samuel. See you next week. Bye now.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.